Pardon me. Sexual violence, assault, and harassment have no place on our campus or anywhere in this community. None. Ever. The type of behavior in the police report released this week is utterly unacceptable and will not be tolerated. I understand and empathize with the outrage that people feel. As a father, I was appalled at what I read. As president of this university, I'm angry and disappointed over this profoundly disturbing incident. As you know, there are many details of this case that we cannot talk about. We cannot discuss the specifics of this case or any other case involving students. I know it's frustrating, and we would like to say more, but we are not going to violate the laws that are in place to protect students' privacy or the rights of our students, especially the survivor. Here's what I can tell you. When the university was made aware of the incident, we immediately began our investigation and activated our established process of support and service immediately. We cooperated completely with law enforcement. The Eugene Police Department requested we not do anything that might hinder their criminal investigation, including suspending players or not playing them in a game. We complied fully with that request, and appropriately so. That does not mean we did nothing during that time. It simply means that we refrained, at the request of the Eugene Police, from doing anything that might have alerted the persons the police told us not to alert in the investigation. Throughout, we continued to follow other steps of our regular process of investigation and to provide support services, as we do for all such matters. We received the police report on April 24th. That enabled us to take action without jeopardizing a criminal investigation. Not all actions the university takes are disclosable. However, working with the UO Athletic Department, we took the following action. The 3 student athletes were suspended. They will not be playing basketball at Oregon again. We have and we will continue to pursue all appropriate action in this case. We have clear, established policies and protocols that we follow in all such cases. When and if we can share additional information, I assure you we will. In the meantime, it's my great hope that we as a university community will take this opportunity to address the broader issues of sexual violence and harassment directly, openly, and decisively. As a community, we need to engage in frank, productive discussions that will help eradicate such violence from our campus. Because even one instance of sexual assault in our community is too many. Over the past few days, I've talked with students all across campus to hear their feelings and concerns. Yesterday, I met with faculty members of the UO Coalition to End Sexual Violence to gain their perspective and talk about how the campus can most effectively work together to end sexual violence in our community. We have great expertise on our faculty, and we will draw on that and turn to them to help improve our response, support, and prevention practices. We have a student body of caring, conscientious young people who want a safe and respectful community. We will do whatever it takes to create a safe, secure environment for all of our students and foster a culture of respect and shared values on our campus. Our university will not tolerate behavior that runs counter to these values. I am encouraged by the attention the problem of sexual assault on college campuses has received recently on a national level, as outlined in the recent report from the White House Task Force to Protect Students from Sexual Assault. This is an important step toward the kinds of deep cultural change that must take place to stop violence on our campuses. But the actions taking place nationally are not nearly enough. We must address this problem here on our own campus and within our own community. We must take this opportunity to rise above the fray and become leaders in the fight to eradicate sexual violence from college campuses, beginning with our own. Last fall, we commissioned an external review of our sexual misconduct policies and protocols. And we have already implemented or are in the process of implementing all of the recommendations of that report, including adding staff to support students who have experienced sexual violence. We have that report available to you. Next week, I will announce details of an additional independent review I have ordered jointly with our athletic director and vice president for student affairs to examine our practices for preventing and responding to sexual violence. We will appoint an independent panel whose charge will include an examination of our athletic department's recruitment practices and a campus climate survey to learn more about the culture of our own campus community when it comes to sexual violence and harassment. Our students' safety and security is our top priority. We have strong policies and protocols in place, and we are working to make them stronger still. Until we have a campus where every individual feels safe, where everyone is respected, and where no instance of sexual violence is tolerated, we will not consider it good enough. This is a difficult time for our community, especially for those whose lives have been directly affected by sexual violence. As a university, we will take this time as an opportunity to make our campus safer, our community stronger, and our intolerance of sexual violence in any form clear and unequivocal. Thank you. We're now available for some questions.
Question over here.
Are you saying that the police instructed you specifically not to suspend the players?
The police asked us to take no actions with respect to the players during their investigation.
So they told you could not have suspended, you do not believe you could have had the ability to suspend the players?
Correct, yes.
Rob, were you aware of the allegation in Brandon Austin's history when he came here? And do you feel like the vetting process for him was thorough enough?
No, we were not aware. I do feel that the vetting process was thorough. Coach Altman had talked to the prior institution's coach. The information that was relayed, which was somewhat limited because of law, was that it was a student conduct matter. It was not a serious matter. Brandon was still enrolled at Providence. In fact, they were hoping to retain him. We later received documents that supported Providence's point of view on that.
Did coaches or athlete or anyone in the athletic department keep you updated? Were they completely honest and forthright with you about the incident, or at any time was information withheld from you or Coach Altman about the seriousness of the incident?
Is a question to me? At no time was information withheld from me, in my view. Or Coach Altman.
When you received notice from the police department that the criminal investigation was complete, can you walk me through exactly what the UO did after that time? And why there's a gap from when the police department said you could pick up the report and when the UO is saying that they actually received the police report?
Sure, I'll try to, is my mic on? I don't know if it's on or not. I'll try to do that if I can. So we were notified on April 8th that the investigation was complete, which allowed us to begin our investigation. There was a gap in between that time. We tried pretty much every single day to get the report. The report wasn't released to us until the 24th by the DA's office. The reason why you're seeing a gap and there isn't information is because the things that were happening are not things that we could disclose, but people shouldn't assume that we weren't actually doing things at that time. That's not my information. We tried to get the report as soon as we possibly could get the report, and the 24th was when we actually received it.
Got a question over here.
What day specifically were the 3 players suspended from the team?
Within 24 hours of Coach Altman and I seeing the full police report, we took corrective action.
What day was that?
I saw it was April 30th.
Were you aware, Rob, at the NC2A tournament that this incident had occurred? Were you and Dana aware before the tournament?
We were aware that an incident had occurred. We didn't have the details, we didn't have the identities confirmed, but we were aware that an incident had been reported to Student Affairs. And even in the conversations the day prior to leaving, we got very specific about whether we should leave anybody home or whether we should make contingency plans to plan to return individuals as additional information became available. But at that time, again, we were instructed to make sure that we did not interfere with the police investigation.
You said you weren't aware of the identities?
We were not.
So you didn't know which 3 players were involved?
We did not. We knew there was an incident. We did not know. We didn't have the identity confirmed of the 3 individuals.
So for the NC2A tournament game, you did not know which players were involved?
We did not know. We did not have the identity of all 3 individuals confirmed.
Question over here.
For Rob, if you could go back, if in retrospect, would you have liked to be able to keep those players out of the NCAA tournament?
Well, I can't deal in speculation. We were just dealing with the information that we had at the time. Obviously, there was a lot of things happening really quickly. That's why we were trying to be very proactive in gathering as much information to allow us to make the decisions that we could make. But at the time, the priority was to make sure that we didn't interfere with the police investigation.
Is the university paying the players for their lawyer fees, or how are the players paying for their lawyers? Is the ASUO giving funds for that?
I have absolutely no idea. I don't know who their lawyers are. You might be referring to the fact that the ASUO does provide funds for legal services for all students, but I have no idea who they're using for their legal services.
Who made the decision to kick the kids off the team, essentially, that they wouldn't be playing basketball anymore, and specifically, why was that decision made?
The athletic director, I, and the coach made that decision together.
Why?
On the basis of the information that we had in the police report.
What specifically in the police report? They weren't charged, obviously, so what specifically is it that you guys think means they shouldn't be here anymore?
You know, when you read the police report, it's very clear that it was conduct that isn't befitting of a University of Oregon student athlete.
What kind of isn't befitting?
Yeah, I don't want to get into the specifics, but it's, you know, it was very clear to us that those were individuals we didn't want representing our organization.
Mr. President, one of the greatest concerns I heard from students yesterday is a lack of transparency from the university. Many of them feel that your office is essentially hiding behind student privacy laws. How do you respond to that criticism?
We actually would like to be as transparent as possible, and as I indicated, we also do believe in supporting the student privacy laws, and so it's a difficult balance, and we take it into consideration every day, but we have an obligation both to be transparent, which we try very hard to be, and disclose as much information as we can, at the same time protecting the privacy rights and interests of all of our students.
Rob, you said you were unaware of the identity of the players involved before the tournament. Was there a protocol or something that prevented you from finding that out at that time?
At that time, there was. Again, the police investigation was the priority at that point. And throughout the process, we obviously gained additional information. But at that point, you know, there were a lot of rumors swirling, of course, but we did not have the confirmation of any identity.
Rob, were you and Dana in Phoenix this week for the Pac-12 meeting?
I flew down Monday and flew right back Tuesday.
How come?
To deal with this matter.
Question over here.
Going back again, talking with a lot of students on campus who are frustrated about what's going on, this is probably a question either of you could answer. What would you have to say to the students who are frustrated, you know, feeling maybe in a way that the university failed them in a way by not maybe notifying them, maybe in general terms, understanding, you know, the privacy issues immediately about what happened, and then, you know, in this respect, waiting so long to respond to any of their questions and concerns?
We would say that we totally understand their frustration. That has been a very frustrating situation. This is getting a lot of attention. The reality is that we're dealing with these kind of issues all the time, and we also don't make notifications at that time. I think our student body would also appreciate that if something were to happen for them, they would want us to protect their privacy as well, and so we're always, as the president said, trying to balance those things. But this is a special situation. Obviously, it's getting a lot of attention, so that's the reason why we have been very deliberate in thinking about, well, what else can we talk to and say to our community so that they know that we care about them, we're concerned about this, we're going to guarantee health and safety, and that's the reason why we're trying to get out the information that we can get out.
Federal law requires the university conduct its own investigation. What's the status of that investigation?
We can't comment directly on the investigation, but anytime we would have a case of sexual misconduct, we would be investigating it, working it through our process, which is clearly defined through our conduct code, and that's what we'd be doing at this time.
Why has the IAC not met since February?
The IAC is a Senate committee, and it's under the direction of the chair of that committee.
But you're not going to comment to why they haven't had monthly meetings?
I think that question would be responded to. Would be most responsive to ask the chair of that committee. Yes, thank you.
Sorry, going back to, understanding, respecting student privacy, but is there no way that students could have been notified sooner in terms of their own safety, knowing that a sexual assault had happened on campus? Obviously students should always be aware, but knowing that something happens makes them that much more aware to be protective of themselves. Is there no way that we could have notified these students that this had happened any sooner?
Yes, I mean, when we have information, clear information that something has happened, we can notify students in a variety of ways, especially through Clery. When we got information about this particular incident after the fact, we had to weigh a lot of different things. One of the things we had to weigh with it was an ongoing investigation with the possibility of an arrest. And if we would have done a timely notice of any kind, that could have interfered with that particular investigation. Then we think about health and safety in general, which we've been doing throughout this process, and we did not assess that there was a current health and safety issue. Then we talk to always the victim, the alleged victim, and what she or he would want in terms of that notification. That's a really important component in all cases.
We've got time for just a few more questions from the media. Just want to remind you that this is the only opportunity that we have. We won't be able to make them available for one-on-ones afterwards, so encourage that.
For the president, were you aware of the identity of the players before the NCAA tournament, and do you feel in retrospect that should have been relayed to the athletic department?
I was, and I believe that what we should have done was follow the directive of the law enforcement agencies. We work very closely with them in matters such as this. We were in close contact with them with repeated inquiries about the status of their investigation, even at that moment, and we took their counsel and advice and followed their direction.
I'd like to ask a question. Can I ask a question? I'm not in the press. But I was wondering, are these students going to be expelled for not upholding the code of conduct?
If there's a finding at any time that a student has participated in sexual misconduct in some way, and they're found responsible for that, then they can be expelled.
Are they going to be expelled?
I can't answer that question until it's actually happened. So,
Will Dana Altman still be the head men's basketball coach at Oregon next season?
Yes.
So, sorry, just to clarify, then are you saying that maybe the victim played a role, or the alleged victim played a role in deciding that she didn't want this to go out right away because of this investigation?
again, I can't comment directly about this case. I was giving you for instance, that we always weigh those types of things as we decide what we do, because it's very important that the victim have an opportunity to be part of that process.
Rob, it sounds like he talked about the independent committee that would be formed, and one of the things they were going to look into were recruiting practices. Does the Brandon Austin situation bring you in for all sports to kind of look at recruiting and the people that you are bringing in?
Well, we always want to make sure that we're following best practices, and we work very hard in every area of our department to employ best practices. And so we're always open. If there's best practices, other places that we can employ here, we're absolutely open to it.
If you have somebody who's had trouble somewhere before, would this make you look harder or be less likely to bring somebody who maybe had trouble at another school?
Well, we always look hard. We gather as much information we can on all of our prospective student athletes and make the decision with the information that's available to us at the time.
Time for one more question from the media? No? Oh.
I just wonder if there's some way that team members and student athletes might be given more education and, understanding about their conduct.
We do a number of educational elements with outside experts, with local law enforcement, but we're always open to other ways to educate. And so certainly we're open to finding new ways to continue to get the message across about responsibility.
And we will continue to review all of those activities because the safety and security of our students and our community is our absolute top priority. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Well, like I said, we'll post the president's remarks and related documents on our website later on today. Thank you all.